Watch me build. We're going to have a really great session here today. We're actually going to be talking a lot about our how we can get good ROI out of our ads. Okay, so as well as we're going to be watching we're going to be watching how to build out and adjust some templates and things like that. So let me real quick. I'm actually trying to get Sam into our group here so that way he can jump on. Give me just a second here to go ahead and get Sam in. Okay, let's see here. All right, he should be joining us here in just a second. All right, so like I said, so today on our Watch Me Build, we're going to be talking about both, how to build out a template. So we've got a couple that we're going to be working on here, as well as talking about ROI. Okay, so let's go ahead and there's a really good conversation that's actually happening right now in the Facebook group about this, and I kind of want to highlight it a little bit and kind of go through what we're talking about. And then from there, we're going to jump into how to actually build out a campaign. So I know, and on last week's video, a lot of you guys are saying, hey, I can't see. So I think I've got a solution to where we'll be able to actually see this properly. So let's go ahead and jump into this. All right, and then what I'm going to do is I'll do it like this. There we go. Now everybody should be able to see the screen, full screen here. So let's see. Oh, and here is Sam. Sam is joining us. So we'll have Sam join us here in just a second once he gets his video on.
All right.
There we go. We got Sam now.
So what's interesting about this is my first time on Restream, and it says do I need to set up my OBS or something, or can I not use my? Let me just play with settings a little bit here. Hold on.
Zach, we see you.
Can you see me, my face?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Okay. Well, then that's all that matters then. Okay. And my audio is good?
Yep. You're all good.
All right. Oh, there I am. Sweet. Rock and roll. Let's do it.
Perfect. All right. Well, like I was saying a little bit, I don't know, Sam, if you caught the little intro there. So I kind of want to actually open up today's Watch Me Build on a really interesting conversation I was having with Jason from the group here. And I wanted to talk about ROI on your actual advertising and the metrics that you should be hitting and what you should be expecting. And then we're going to jump into building out a couple of campaigns. And so also love to get kind of your feedback on this thread as well that we've got going. So to kind of preface everything, so Jason here was asking, and he was planning on joining. I don't know if he was able to actually get time. He was talking about potentially joining on today. But he was asking about, hey, how soon should we tweak our ads? And there's a couple of default responses, and there's a reason why there's a couple of default responses, but I wanted to dive into the why those are the default answers so you can make adjustments and understand things. So the default answer is if you've got a big budget, wait 3 days before you make any kind of a change. And if you have a smaller budget, you want to wait 7 days before you make any kind of a change to Facebook. And based off of that answer, we were able to actually jump into a really interesting conversation on how you calculate the success of your campaign, how you calculate your return on your investment and whatnot. And we were able to get into a lot of details. And here's my detailed post that I'll actually break down here for you.
Is that you behaving
that ROI?
Is that you behaving like Upex right now? That big
so I switched profiles and
goodness,
I just been Upex. So
all right.
But basically, so one of the things that we're going to talk first, marketing in general, right? So this is across the board. If you take every industry, every marketing campaign, yada, 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 right? So these are the general numbers, what I would call the floor you want to hit, right? So in general, you want to get one Facebook lead for every 1,000 impressions. Where that comes from is the general floor of online marketing, especially for display marketing. You'll have different numbers for Google and whatnot. But for display-based marketing, which Facebook is a display advertising system, it's a 1% click-through rate, a 10% conversion rate, which means for every 1,000 impressions, you should get 1 lead. Okay, so that's your floor. If you're getting below that floor, then you've got a problem with your campaign. From there, though, and this is the part that I think a lot of us may miss, and it's a really great opportunity for our clients to have this conversation with them, is the journey of the lead doesn't stop with 1 lead per 1,000 impressions, right? Because what the client actually cares about, Sam, and we've talked a lot about this in our own agency, the client doesn't care about leads. They don't care whatsoever about leads. What they care about is, what do those leads turn into later down the road? Do they turn into sales? Do they turn into appointments? Do they turn into what, those types of things? What do they turn into is what the client actually cares about. And then that's where we start getting some interesting numbers in terms of how you can figure out, are your campaigns actually being successful? So again, if we keep the floor across all industries and whatnot, typically it takes about 4 to 5 Facebook leads to actually turn into somebody who's going to take a converting action, like a sale, or if you're going to be doing something. I think Jason here, he did mattresses, right? I think he has a thing with mattress companies, right? So it's going to take 4 to 5 leads before somebody's willing to actually come into that mattress store, right? Just because they're filling out that Facebook lead doesn't mean that they're actually in that moment, yep, I'm going to drive over there right here, right now. So, which means that if you're calculating the success for your clients, you've got to also take into account, well, how many leads do I have to deliver in order for them to have that success? And then it comes all the way back to what the original question was, is what should my daily budget be? Okay, so if we take the absolute floor, and let's say it costs $10 per lead for you to get a lead on Facebook, it takes 4 of those on average for them to actually jump in and take some sort of a converting action. Well, then that means you need to be spending, if they want to get at least 1 sale a day, you need to spend $40 a day on Facebook, right? If your cost per lead is $20 per lead, then they need to be doing at least $80 per lead on Facebook, or $80 per day on Facebook, in order to get that 1 sale per day, right? So a lot of times when we talk about, oh, what should my daily budget be and all this other kind of stuff, what should how quickly should I change my ads and whatnot, it all needs to come back to working backwards from, well, how many will it take me to get a sale, and then where can I improve?
Can I interject here?
Any thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, there's so many threads that as you're going down, I'm like, bump, I pulled on that one, bump, I pull on that one. And so I don't necessarily, it's such a funny thing, because let's not share the screen right now, because I don't know that people can read that. But here's when you do this as a profession and your job is to deliver leads to a client. Okay, you started this out by saying that people don't really want leads. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And that is like this direct, like dichotomy, because you thought, well, that's what I do. Like, my job is to do that. Well, let's back up just a minute. Anytime I see somebody in a Facebook group, on a Facebook ad, whatever, say my lead cost is $10, or I'm getting leads for $2 or whatever. It's like, one time Jacob and I did a campaign for an orthodontist, and we were getting like sub $3 leads because we were giving away free braces. Okay. You can't compare that campaign to the campaign that we run on a daily basis that is saying you need to pay this much money and you're going to get this specific thing. And Jacob and I would know that, hey, now if we could get people to do all the actions that are in this ad and get a low lead cost, that would be incredible. However, by the nature of what that campaign is designed to do, and by the nature of groups of chunks of thousands of people, we know that our lead cost is going to be about $20. And we're entirely satisfied with that number, so long as we're hitting our base metric of a 1% click-through rate. And I think there's some discussion about, like, even when you see in like UpX, like we'll see lower than that, but that's link click-through rate in the UpX, is it not?
Correct. Yeah, it's outbound. It's the outbound
So
click-through rate.
that's a much higher, like, link click-through all, okay, and then click-through rate all, and then link click-through rate, much higher level of intent. That's kind of whatever. Anyway, so I guess number one is not all leads are created equal. If you're doing it for like a med spa, if you're doing it for a doctor, if you're doing it for a real estate thing, like you guys, these leads are going to cost different across the board. And so it comes down to, like, what is good, right? What is good? And that's going to, again, be based on what you know about that niche. So that is number one. I think having a really good base, like Jacob said, like 1% click-through rate, 10% conversion rate, you got to be at least like there to have what we would call a control template. Okay.
You can even think of it, even break it down. Like I said, through this thread, one of the things that I picked up on in just my own explanation was 1 lead per 1,000 impressions.
Yeah.
Just think of it that way. If you're able to pull 1 lead per 1,000 impressions, at least you're sitting at a good foundational spot for your campaign.
Yeah, and what's kind of like, to layer another, to give you another level of understanding on 1,000 impressions, that might be 750 people, right? Mm-hmm. So you have a proven ad, and then you have an algorithm that identifies engagement within a campaign, and so it might show that ad to a bunch of the same people at the same time. Like, oh, this person they did it. Let's follow up with them again. Let's follow up with them again. Maybe that's getting too granular for this particular conversation, but I will say, like, if you're there, you're good. All right, you're good. The next part of this thing is, here's a mental exercise. Let's say that I am working with roofing company A and roofing company B. I got 2 different companies, and I run the exact same lead generation campaign, everything's the same. And I give 100 leads to that person, and I give 100 leads to that person. Are they going to get the same result? No, they will never get the same result. One, because it's not, like, Facebook is not a vending machine. Okay. So sales that plop out at the very bottom of the funnel, while you may have averages, you also have deviations from that average, or from that average, meaning you have people that are really high achievers and got good sales stuff going on in their businesses. And then you got people who, like, literally they just had that entrepreneurial seizure. They want to do the thing, but they don't know a damn thing about selling. And so they're going to be at the bottom of that. Right. So in our agency, I say this one thing quite frequently, which is, you never hear about all of the planes that landed. You only hear about the ones that crash. Okay. And nothing perturbs me more than to be on a webinar. And I shouldn't say perturbs me. It just, that's not the right word. I'm on a webinar, and I got a person who's a current agency customer that, we're doing so good, we're crushing it, we're doing this. I'm like, who is that person, and how come have they never told me that they're doing so good and that they're crushing it? Right? So, I don't want to get too far off track here. The whole thing that we're talking about here is, you got to have a baseline, like goal. Okay. 1 lead out of 1,000. But then you have to understand that your job does not stop there. You have to anticipate the next constraint. If you want to turn something into, let's talk ROI. If you want to turn something into a sale, then you have to prepare your customer for what needs to be done to convert that into a sale. So there is a question that says, if we sell this to, let's say, plumbers, for them to get leads, how do we explain to them how to structure the campaigns and when to tweak, etc.?
So, and here's how I would actually break this off. I break it off into 2 separate items. So first, you have the plumber, you're getting them leads, right? And then how do you explain the structure of the campaigns for them to tweak and whatnot? The plumber shouldn't be the one tweaking the structure of the campaign or the ad copy of the campaign or the design of the campaign. That's your job as the agency owner, is to make sure you're hitting that baseline and better, right? So that's your foundation. So what you need to focus your plumber on is that next phase, right? So you've achieved lead at this point, right? And now you are also, something also to keep in mind is you are the expert in the field. So as much as you may not want to do these conversations with your clients, these are the conversations that they've actually hired you to do. It's now, how do I take that lead into a sale? And that's where your plumber, if they're doing it themselves, right? So if you're selling a DIY service, you're not doing all of this for them with a call center or whatnot. If you're doing it all, if they're doing it DIY, you need to teach them, okay, now where's your leaky bucket? Okay. So if I'm feeding you, like I said, your baseline is, if I, as the agency, am feeding you 4 Facebook leads, you, Mr. Plumber, should have at least, the floor should have been one of those people became a paid customer, right? So where's the leaky bucket? Is it in the initial conversation? Are they reaching out to that lead right away? Is it the way they're talking? I can't tell you how many calls, Sam, you've probably listened to just as many as I have, of people, they jump on the phone with a lead and they're rude, they're short. I mean, you can tell that they're busy doing something else. Whoever's running their office is busy doing something else. So they don't really care about this person as a lead and nurturing them. They're just basically, look, you should already want what I sell, and moving on.
Yeah. So it's funny because I tell a story, and if you have been in our agency meetings, you've heard me tell one story so many times. You must think it's the only story I tell, but it's such an amazing example of, you know, how this game works. So before we jump ahead of, like, you got to help them to get the sale, right? It's very, very interesting. The exact comments that you will get as soon as you start to get leads is, this lead quality is BS. These people don't know what they're blah, blah. Like that's what you're going to get. That is a bold-faced lie. Just so you understand, if you're watching this, I want to, like, be very emphatic about that, because that will be your first number one distraction that will keep you in trying to fix a problem that does not exist. Okay. The problem is not the leads for the most part. All right. And we can talk more about, like, what bad leads are. But if I were to just be very, like, here's one rule. If it's commodity and the only lever you have to pull is, hey, I'm going to give you a discount on this thing, then you might be dealing with a high volume, low intent. But if you are niching down and making these very granular offers, like, I wouldn't know, for a plumber, like maybe repiping your house, like something like that. That's a very granular thing, right? If a person opts into a repiping your house thing, it is not the leads. It is not the leads. And so I want to give you, agency owner, I want to give you the permission to, and maybe the confidence to say, if it's not the leads, then what is it? Which dovetails me into the story that I tell all the time. And by the way, I'm putting together our slow onboarding process, and this story is in that onboarding video. It's the number one story I tell. And here's why. We had this guy named Dr. Ray Peavy, finds Patient Stream. That's the name of Jacob and I's agency. Finds Patient Stream in the pandemic. Okay. His practice gets cut by more than half. You got a guy that's in business 30 years in California. He is an older fella, really sweet, sweet man. He comes to us basically as a lifeline to save his practice. No pressure, right, Jacob?
Nope,
and
not at all.
none at all. And so he gets in and he starts getting a ton of leads. And so, you know, he's excited, but it's the same thing. Nobody's showing up. Nobody's answering their calls, blah, blah. You fill in the blank. You've been there before. Okay. Then on a very, like, a fortuitous day for both him and for you listening to this story, he's walking by his front desk and he hears his front desk on the phone with a Facebook lead. And he says, "Is that a Facebook lead?" And she goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Can you transfer that call to me? This is 6 weeks in. He's gotten nothing from this marketing." And he's just like, he has to figure this out. He has no other choice. So he gets on the phone with this lead. He talks to the person. He does a 5-minute phone consultation. And he does it the way a doctor would do it, not the way a front desk person does it. The person shows up the next day, and then the following day converts to a $4,500 care plan And he thinks to himself, what just happened? What just happened? And so he goes back to his front desk and he says, we're going to make a shift. Anytime you get a person on the phone, that's a Facebook lead, you're going to, I don't care what I'm doing. I mean, guy was desperate. You're going to get me on the phone. I'm going to do a phone consultation and we're going to do that process again. And for the next 2 months, he took his practice and more than doubled his practice. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing that bothered me to death. For a very long time, I was like, how was that? Like, why was that? I stayed surface level for a very long time. I did not understand because guess what? Jacob, did we change the ads?
We didn't change a single thing about the ads.
Did we optimize the targeting?
Nope. Left everything
the same. Nothing, you guys. We were hitting a 1% click-through rate and a 10% conversion rate. And we know that that is what works. So we stick to our guns. We've done this a long time. We have lots of like resources. Well, come to find out, I was listening to a podcast a little while later, and I heard Alex Hormozi talk about the 2 dialogues. And Alex Hormozi, if you don't know who he is, he's a pretty smart dude. And he says every conversation has 2 dialogues. Number 1 is the script that your team uses. We have a script that we give to our customers, okay? But then number 2 is the tone and certainty that is conveyed through the words that they're having. Mm-hmm. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, the doctor who knows what he can do to help the person who's on the phone, and then the front person who has no like concept of what it takes to really, all she's doing is like, hey, my job is to put people on the calendar, right? Those are 2 different conversations that are happening. And when you have the one that is like leading the way with, let me help you, let me figure out your problem, all of a sudden everything like flows downstream like it was always meant to and like they thought it would in the first place. So I'll put a bow on this because here is where we're at. You want to know how to get ROI on your ads. Hit the formula, okay? And by the way, find your own formula because if you're in roofing or something else, 1% click-through rate and 10% conversion, that's where you start, okay? That's where you know you can confidently go out and deliver lead flow to a customer. Once you're there, doesn't mean you stop, but once you're there, focus on helping them do the next thing to convert it to the action. So a booking, an appointment. And if you're talking, like my example is talking to people in chronic pain. So that's going to require more empathy and different types of communication. If you're a plumber, you probably want a booking bot. You probably have an easier route than we do with people who are suffering with pain. Okay. It literally is probably like hey, that person wants to do like, replumb their house or whatever in that example, get a booking bot. So it goes boom, right away. And that's how you're going to like prove to your customer, hey, you had 10 people this week respond to your booking bot and schedule, and you never like did a follow-up call. You never did this. You never like, there's layers of the thing. You didn't do that. I wonder if we could improve this by as soon as an appointment is made, you reaching out and say, hey, thank you for trusting us. We'll be out at your site on Wednesday. Is there anything we need? Whatever the script or protocol is. Okay. But that's the thing that maybe as an agency owner, you didn't think you had to do, but you do if you want to keep them for a very long time. All right. The question, is it okay if I read the question or did you want to add anything else?
Yeah, no, I can throw it on. It's so they thought that the system is the DIY, so they could use the software to create campaigns. So they're new to Upex. So yes, the system does allow
for a dumb question. It is not a dumb question, Facebook user. It's not a dumb question. The one about how do we explain to them how to structure the campaigns when they tweak? No, it's not a dumb question, not at all. I think the only thing that if the goal is to help you guys build a bulletproof business, it's just to anticipate what's coming next and to also know what's going to distract you. Like the comments like this lead quality is like BS. It's a distraction. Okay. It's not going to help you get to the next part of your business, which the next part of your business, that's where you can upsell things, hey, let's put a booking bot on this. It's X, whatever, an extra charge. So Anyway, there you go. It wasn't a dumb question. It was a great question. It's funny because I am, if you've seen, I posted a YouTube video yesterday, maybe, about our slow onboarding process. And I talked about that 2 weeks ago. And yesterday I was working on chunking it out in 3 parts. And the whole idea is this software can be an absolute game changer for people if they know what they have, right? If they know what they have in their hands. If you were a miner and you have a hammer and a chisel, and then somebody walks up and says, here's this pneumatic drill, you're like, whoa, that's amazing. But you don't know where, like, how to prime it, how to plug it in. You're like, dude, I don't know. It's a paperweight. For me, I'm going to go back to the hammer and the chisel. Right. So let's make sure that everybody understands how to develop and build this business so you guys can be a force to be reckoned with. And by the way, one other thing, and maybe we jump into template building at some point in time here.
Yes. Well, and I've got one more thought too. So go throw your thing in there.
We're likely in a recession or heading into one, which that means different things for different people. To me, it is a huge opportunity. And here is why. There's a lot of service-based agencies that do lead generation for local businesses. Okay. And they have, because the cost of delivery, meaning my media buyers, my all this, whatever, is not cheap. And if they have not adapted to the model that you guys are watching in real time, they're out, right? They're done. They're not going to be able to stick around and still charge those high fees. And so all of their clients are going to be up for grabs. All right. They're going to be up for grabs. In a recession, the entire country doesn't go out of business. I think in the last one, it was like 10%, it was like a 10% churn effectively. Well, that's 90% of the people that are still there that you can help. And guess what? All like that 10% was probably those other people that did not adapt. You are in the thing that's going to be able to adapt. So,
yeah. And then actually, it was funny when you were talking about the tool. It made me actually think about what is Upex for, right? In your agency, and it has a lot of different levers that you can pull. But the biggest thing, and Sam, correct me if I'm wrong, in saying speaking for our own agency, because we built Upex, it was an internal tool, and then we said, hey, I bet other agencies would love to use this. It was to eliminate one of the most resource intensive parts of running an agency, so we could focus on where the real problems were, right? So I was the Facebook guy. I was the one in everyone's campaigns, building things out, optimizing, editing, changing, figuring out this, that, and the other, right? That was all I had time to do, was those campaigns. But what ended up happening, we were able to build Upex. We eliminated all of that work. Now the clients can launch the campaigns themselves. Now my job is to go into Upex every couple days, a week, for an hour and tweak templates. I look at the numbers, I tweak templates, call it good, right? It allowed me to take something that would be a full-time 80-hour-a-week job and put all of that time now towards dollar productive activities that I no longer had to do, because Upex completely freed up that time. So it allows you as an agency owner, if you do it right, where you have it as if you build your templates out right, you give it to your clients, you let them launch their own campaigns, it allows you as the agency to now focus on that next step for the agency to provide additional value that you can upcharge for. If you can figure out how to do a booking bot, if you can figure out how to get a good call center set up, if you could figure out how to help them improve their sales, you could do those things. Those are now upcharges that you can easily sell your clients to, because you're giving them what they're actually looking for, which is that, in our case, a patient, or maybe for a plumber, a plumbing client. If you're a real estate agent, an actual house to sell, you're giving them where they don't have to worry about all those other steps, because you took care of them all, because you took the most time-intensive, annoying part of your business and eliminated it with Upex.
I've been thinking about this idea. Did you have a particular template that you wanted to go after today, by the way?
So the one that I was going to go after, we had a person submit a template request that I was going to build on for car dealerships, that I was going to build a template out on. But this is honestly a really great conversation. Um, I don't know if we want to just keep going down this thread.
Well, why don't we do? Let's just. I have a thought. Maybe you and I can just bounce this off a little bit. Well, first of all, so I think in like 30 minutes or so, I'm going to be going live on with a friend from the Facebook group. I don't know if I can. We'll talk about it later. But it's all about like what we're doing right now to adapt and to like fill the top of our funnel, that whole thing, and what it takes to do that. And one of the really important things is getting granular, being aware of what situations and scenarios are happening right now. Real estate's a big like people do real estate a lot in UPEX, right? Real estate, mortgage, insurance. Insurance kind of never goes away, so that's a very like durable category. But real estate is a very interesting one, and I wanted to maybe have a discussion with you, Jacob, about if I were a real estate agent, a loan originator, some of the new angles I would be taking, with what's going on right now today. Because I think if you're in UpX and you're doing real estate, I think that you're like, well, what are some things like how could I adapt? Because there's always a move. And I had this like idea. So let me just like pitch it to you.
Okay.
If I were a real estate agent today, I'm going to pitch you this idea. If you're watching and you're in real estate, try this thing out if you think it's a good idea. If I were real estate today and I saw the interest rates going crazy and I saw the market, like the amount of inventory that's on the market. Okay.
Actually, real quick, can I pause you real fast? Because I
Yeah.
just want to do this. We may be speaking specifically on real estate, but I guarantee you every single one of your clients right now and potential clients are fretting about the exact same things in their industry. They may not be worried about, oh, what's the mortgage rate going to be or what's the inventory. But if you're doing anything where anything in like consumerism, so if you got a store, stuff like that, you're sitting there worried about inventory. If you've got clients that are plumbers, I bet you those plumbers are worried about, well, people have to tighten their belts. So, what type of discounts am I going to have to do? How many people are going to put off things for it, right? What's going to be my decrease in volume and all that. So every single one of your clients is worried about the state of the economy right now. So nobody's immune to this. So as we talk maybe specifically about real estates and different angles, think, how can I apply those same concepts to my client base, right?
Yeah.
Because the only ones that I would probably say are sitting here going, I don't care what happens to the economy, are businesses, like a dentist, like your MDs, right?
Yeah.
You have to go to a dentist. You're going to have to go to a doctor. I'm sure they're not too concerned about, what's going to be the state of my practice if I'm a general practitioner, right? But for practically everybody else, they're worried about the state of the economy. So, all right, just wanted to throw that out there real quick.
So here's what I would do. Okay, I would within an UpEx template, you can do a regular template, but there's also one where there's a box and you can check it, and it says time end date. Like click for an end date. What's the actual title?
I think it says required set end date.
Yeah, require set end date. Okay, so we put that in there because we wanted to automate event marketing. Okay, so here's what I would do. When the economy is still moving, people still have to move, people still have to sell houses. That's still happening. The price points at which that's happening and all that kind of stuff, that's kind of what's up in the air. But while everyone else is doing the same thing over and over and over again, you know what I would do? I would do either monthly or bi-monthly my own home show, right? And I would run ads to say, hey, if you're in the market and you still need to buy a house, these are the best deals in today's market, right? I've scouted them out and I found them for you. And we've already, like, I don't know what you can say, but, and I found that the urgency of the selling party is pretty high. So they're probably negotiable. I would like frame that whole idea in an ad. And then I'd say, I publish the route every Saturday, just opt into my funnel. And on Saturday morning, I'll shoot you the route for the day so you can go around and tour them. If you have any questions, get back to me. Right. And it's, to me, I would do that knowing that people are going to want that list. People are going to do that. And that me as the real estate agent, I'm going to be building a list of always active buyers. Like, okay, I've got all these active buyers. Then I would go to people who are have listings that are like stale listings. I'll be like, hey, I have a list of active buyers, but they're not looking for stale listings like yours. Are you a buyer that, do you see what's happening? Are you needing to sell, or are you just kind of trying to test the waters? And I would start creating a pool of like buyers that are like coming around to the idea, and I would start double ending deals as much as I could. Okay. And by the way, I would do the same thing if I was a loan originator. I would pair up with a real estate agent and say, hey, let's do this together. Okay. We'll divide the ad spend. I've got these programs that are really great for people that are, transferring X amount of equity. I would do these kind of things, and I would start finding ways in my own agency to start promoting like event things. Okay. Which the reason I would do event things is because there's time sensitivity, there's urgency, there's scarcity. And if you can come up with a good hook, they will work all the time, every time.
Yep. Well, and I would, to echo that, one, I think that's a great idea. And if your industry, and you'd be surprised what you can come up with. If your industry can support it, events are what will get you through downturns, honestly. So one, people are looking for things to do that are cheap, right? People's budgets are getting tightened and things like that. So they're going to be looking for things that are going to be getting cheap. And if you can, with your clients, provide these limited time events like that fills a need, you're going to get way more results out of it than you would just throwing out a Facebook ad, right? Because there's an exchange that's happening. And this is something that we talk about all the time in our agency. You have to have an appropriate exchange with your leads, with your clients and everything like that. If somebody's out of exchange, then they're not going to be willing to take action, right? So this is part of the reason why, you want to maybe do discount offers and things like that, right? It's the easiest, oldest sales trick in the book. But the reason why we do it is because we're exchanging something, right? This user's exchanging their private information, their email address, their phone number, whatever, in return for a discount, right? So you're in some sort of an exchange. Well, as people become either A, sensitive to handing out their data, or B, price sensitive, well, now you've got to find something that will still facilitate that exchange. And events are a great way, and the way you should do your events, similar to what you were talking about, Sam, is they shouldn't cost the end user anything other than their time, which they're willing to give up a lot more easier than they are willing to part with dollars.
I got another one for you. I'm going to say that I'm going to take the same concept, the same idea. I'm going to apply it to mortgage guys and gals, which I used to be one. Here's what I would do. We are headed into a recession, but that does not mean, and we are headed into recession. And also we have, how many baby boomers are retiring every, whatever?
We have a lot of retiring baby
I don't
boomers.
remember what the number is. It's like this stupid number. All right. So here's what I would do. In times of recession, and if it's time to retire, how do you do it? Like consistently, safely, or something. Like the whole idea would be like how to retire right now if you don't know what to do. Okay. And I would promote.
Well, actually, better phrase would be how to retire and maximize
cash flow during a recession.
Maximize your return on
cash flow during a recession. And so what I would do then, I'd be like, I do a workshop, and then I would flip over to reverse mortgages. Reverse mortgages are a little bit more work, but back when I was doing it, I mean, they paid good. And I would get down, if I had a Facebook ad agency that was helping people doing loan originations, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to create a reverse mortgage event promo. And what's interesting, you're probably only going to have a couple people initially, but man, I tell you what, you fill people's pipelines with enough reverse mortgages, and you basically said, well, this is recession proof. Loan originators got wiped out in the last one. There would be an absolute gold mine for that thing. Guys, you can use this. I gave this. Here's another thing. This same example I gave for orthodontists. And I told Jacob and I a story when we did a back to school thing. It's like, hey, we did new year, new you, or a back to school special, something like that. I would do giveaways. Okay. I would have a template, time sensitive template. Boom, giveaway. We're going to do a drawing at the end of 3 weeks. In that time frame, Jacob and I did like 500 leads, something like that. You would probably average something like that because of the offer that you're doing. But I would do it quarterly. Okay. And I would tell Mr. Orthodontist man, I said, hey, whenever we run one of these promos, it's $1,500. During the rest of the quarter, we're going to automate the lead nurturing stuff so we can pull the maximum amount of like new clients out of this. And then we're going to refill it. So every quarter, we're refilling the top of the funnel, and then we're taking out the bottom. We're refilling and then taking out the bottom. And the good news is, Mr. Doctor Man, we will, it's only $497. And whenever we do one of these promos, it's $1,500. And then boom, I would build a model off of that and watch that same thing just go boom and go crazy. So there's a couple questions coming in here. Maybe we should.
I'll address this one here real quick. And then with this, I really like what you're talking about there, so I kind of want to bounce off that too. But are there any templates for me as an agency for plumbers? If we would get to more plumbers, let's continue for that example. In my agency, is there templates, campaigns, and UpPicks that target plumbers? And the answer is yes, there is. So we definitely have templates that target plumbers. So under the template library, so everybody has this template library tab here. My account, because this is where the template library it comes from. I have to go actually into my templates, but there is a plumbers category.
Are you in UpEx right now? Because all we see is an infinite mirroring of the screen.
Oh, well, you know what? I just really like to see myself over and over. But yes, I was in UpEx thinking I was sharing. Now, here we go. Now we can see UpEx. But yes, we do have some plumber offers that are in here. So you've got like service calls, you got dollar amount off of certain plumbing repairs, you got drain cleaning at a set price. So, and these are pretty run-of-the-mill plumber type offers that you can run. And you can actually, since it looks like we've got somebody who is on the plumber industry, another place that you can go in order to get some ideas for templates is you can go to the Facebook ads library. Okay, so we can go in here and we can look at, for instance, go to plumbers. We can see, okay, what are other people actively doing right now on Facebook? So we can see, so they got pipe cleaning.
Are you able to zoom in at all on that? It's hard to see. There you go. That's better.
All right, so we've got like pipe cleaning. We've got leaky kitchen sink. This guy's trying to get more plumbers into his agency. So here's if you're trying to get more plumbers, here's a way you could potentially do the same thing, making a similar ad office. So the Facebook ad library is a great place to get ideas for ads. Now, if you're also in a commodity type, and I actually really like this. Now, what I would do differently from this guy right here, so you got this quick actions plumber. See how he's got leaky kitchen sink, toilet won't stop running, need a new fixture installed. Here's the mistake that he's making. He's put all three of those in the same ad. So remember last week when I did the Watch Me Build and I talked about congruency and keeping your ad simple and succinct. Each one of these should be its own ad, because imagine now, instead of this picture, here's the other mistake that he's making. Instead of this picture of this watery van, Instead, what if it was a picture of a leaky kitchen sink with the call to action being, we can fix this in an hour, right? Or toilet won't stop running. You got a picture of a toilet that's running over, we can get this fixed before it causes water damage. Need a new fixture installed. You can put one of those super fancy fixtures on. You can get a video. I'm sure Moen won't care if you take their video of somebody using their fixture and, with a caption that says, do you want this installed on your, in your kitchen? So this is a great example of a good start. But man, if they broke these off into 3 separate ads, one going to the fact that you can take those leads and now they're definitely qualified because they're opting into something specifically, but then going from there and breaking them off. So now you can actually split those leads into multiple different directions. I'll be right back. I got a little one that's going. So.
Here, unshare your screen real quick. Okay, cool. So just to address your point, I mean, not to generate, and I don't know if can I do this? Or is it just Jacob? I don't know how to use this thing. Let me see if I can share my screen. Share screen. Oh man, this is gonna be awesome. What? All right. So I was going to, if you go to, I want to talk real quick about getting clients. Okay. And I hopefully you guys can see me because I can't see you. In about 20 minutes, I'm going to be going live in the Facebook group with a friend. We're going to be talking about a lot about this. Okay. But I just did a video how to how to get 5 clients this week if you sell high level. Okay. You want to really make sure that you are approaching this the right way. Okay. Because I can tell you right now, most people make it a lot more difficult to get their first few clients than it has to be. And I tell a story in that video, and I can't find how to like actually paste that in here. But if you go to the YouTube channel, the UpX YouTube channel, you will see how to get your first 5 clients. But the whole idea is most people make it very hard to sell because they're trying to sell so many people. And if you look at the examples that the aforementioned examples that I provided, those were like, okay, I'm going to do a event that helps people, baby boomers. That's number 1. Concerned about cash flow. That's number 2. Looking for a solution. Number 3, right? A cash flow solution. Like that's a very granular person. The reason that campaign works is if I know that that's who I'm talking to, my ad copy, everything I do becomes very easy to write. But if I'm like, oh man, I just need to get buyers. See what I mean? A lot of people think that like buyers are your niche. Buyers are not your niche. You have to sub niche to actually make this whole thing work. So if I wanted to get plumbers, I would be finding like a very specific type of plumber. Okay. And I would base
a specific type of plumber or a very specific plumber need that you can address, one or the other.
Give me an example of plumber need.
So let's say that so I can use our agency as an example, right? Let's say you've got people who they can get leads, they just can't convert those leads into patients, right? So what you could do for Mr. Plumber ad is, hey, Mr. Plumber, do you convert your Facebook leads at X percentage rate or better?
Yeah. Calling out like a very specific scenario also does like target a behavior or situation. So yeah, you could get granular in terms of like calling out situations when they've worked with other service providers that do what you do. So yeah, that's a good point. Anyway, so I don't know where I was going with any of this.
I think you were going to being detailed. But the point is
the whole point is if you want to get clients, give me 2 minutes. I'm going to tell you a story. It's in that video. I'm going to give me 2 minutes. When I first became a mortgage broker, I became a mortgage broker back in 2004 or five, I think. And I got in. The only reason I did it was because I had all these friends that were like, hey, we'll just send you our deals. I'm like, all right, sweet. I'll make a bunch of money. I got in, I learned the craft. I was like, all right, send me those deals. And they're like, oh, we don't got no deals. I'm like, oh, dude, I got like, this is a commission-based job. I don't make it like, I'm not making money. What do I do? So I go to my branch manager and she's like, well, just go to real estate offices and, take people to lunch, this, that, and the other. I was 24. I'm like, well, first of all, I don't have any money to take people to lunches because nobody's sending me deals. Second of all, like I'm 24. I've only been doing this for 3 months. What am I going to tell them? So one day I'm in the lobby of a Century 21 and I'm flipping through. There's one of those magazines. They call them Homes and Land. I don't know if that's Idaho specific or if it's like all across the country, but it's a real estate magazine. And so I'm looking through this magazine and there's all these listings. And the first page is this really classy lady who's probably late 40s, early 50s. All of her homes are like $1 million listings, like super fancy. Yeah, I'm like, oh man, it'd be nice if that lady sent me those listings, those buyers, but there's no way she would ever send it because I'm a 24-year-old punk, going through. And every time I flip through these pages as an exercise, you guys could do this yourself. I'm like, they wouldn't work with me because I don't fit their demographic, this, that, and the other. And then I flip the page. And when I flip the page, there's this lady. Her name is Christina McNeil. And she's Hispanic. She works with first-time home buyers. And her listing price, again, it's first-time home buyers. So I'm like, well, hold on a minute. I know that most loan originators don't love doing these government programs, these first-time home buyers. They're more labor intensive. So she probably is dealing with a lot of people that don't want to help do the loans in the first place. I'm like, okay, well, that's one, I can do that. Two, I actually do speak Spanish. And so I called her up and I'll never forget it. I'm like, hi, Christina. My name is Sam. I was just flipping through Homes and Land, and I noticed that you work a lot with first-time home buyers and they're Spanish speakers. I'm guessing you probably have a lot of either hard times getting them approved or maybe even loan officers that have a hard time communicating with them. So you have to translate or whatever the case may be. If you'd like, I speak Spanish and I specialize in first-time home buyer loans. I'm here to help. Do you have anybody that needs some help? Boom, 5 leads that day. 5 leads. And after that one moment, I never, ever had to worry about getting more loan leads ever again. She filled my pipeline. She brought her friends. They brought their friends. And all of a sudden, I was El Gringo Prestamista. I'm not even kidding. That was my name. I had a radio show. I was El Gringo Prestamista. And what was crazy about that is all of a sudden, I go from being a punk kid who knows zero about sales, by the way, and I fell ass backwards into this. I'm a sales genius. But the only thing I did was get it down to a very, very, very specific problem that I could go in and solve that one thing. But you might think, well, that's so small. Dude, I made tons of money as the Gringo Prestamista. As a 25-year-old punk, I was making more money than I could even know what to do with just because I got super sub-niched. Okay. Not niched, sub-niched. Right. So anyway, just like most of your problems when you talk about how do I generate leads for plumbers or how do I get agency clients, they are rooted in you looking around at everyone else and them basically. I mean, if you try and get the kind of doctors that Jacob and I get in our agency, we're way ahead. We're way ahead, right? If you wanted to compete with us, get super granular, okay? And offer maybe dinner workshops for those people. Because guess what? We're not going there. We got other stuff we're doing, right? You know what I mean? So it's just like a magnifying glass. You got the sun there. You got the magnifying glass. The more focused you make that beam, the faster it's going to burn. So
And the other thing that it does too is it eliminates your worry on the quality of the leads, right? Think about this for a second. If you're generating leads for a mortgage originator like Sam was, and you were just generating mortgage originating leads. Hey, if you want a mortgage, boom, hit me up, right? There could be a a quality issue involved in that, because you could have people coming from all walks of life and all walks of, being ready and whatnot. So there could be a bit of a quality issue in it, versus, are you a first-time home buyer who speaks Spanish looking in this price point? That person is so niched down that there is not a quality issue. So you as an agency owner don't need to worry about that anymore. And now it goes to, okay, now what are we doing with that lead, right? Are we following up with them appropriately? Are we talking about the things that they want, that kind of stuff?
Right. And really, maybe let me just see if let me attempt to do something. A moment of clarity for everyone watching. This is why when we talk about how you target and how you set up your templates and all this kind of stuff, this is why we talk about, you don't target with technical targeting. You target with copy, with creative. That's your targeting. Okay. Like when you set up a local Facebook ad campaign, don't trip all over yourself by thinking, oh, well, I got to find an interest in plumbing. I got to find nobody has an interest in plumbing unless you're a plumber. Right. And so I got to do these things. Don't do that. Okay. Go to marketing school, learn the words, get specific on the person, learn the words that you got to say, and make your ad do the targeting. That's what does the targeting. Because I tell you what, right now, if I'm flipping through my feed and somebody throws something up for plumbing, I'm just going on. Because I don't need a plumber. But, if somebody puts something on here for like, hey, it's Friday night, date night, here, get $10 off this delicious ribeye steak. I'm like, oh, hey, honey, we're going to go to this place tonight. I want to get this delicious ribeye. Bam. Right? Time sensitive, targeted to me because I love a good steak. Anyway, target with your creative, not with your.
Well, and really target with, know who you're targeting, right? Break down that audience to the lowest level you can with volume, right? I will put a little asterisk on that, with volume, when it comes to Facebook ads. Okay.
Yeah.
You can't have an audience that's 300 people. Like, it's not going to work on Facebook very well for you, right? So niche down as small as you can, where you still have volume associated with it. So like we were using in this ad here, right, that I was kind of using as an example from the Facebook ad library on what they were doing wrong. These people have kitchen sinks that run, people have toilets that won't stop running, right? Fixtures installed. These should be separate ads, and they will deliver completely different types of clients that are hyper specific, right? Yeah. Those are, and it also allows you to get really specific too with your images. It allows everything to stay congruent. It allows your lead gen forms to stay congruent. It allows your follow-up messages to stay congruent. All of those things add to better and better results in that pop out at the back end with the actual sale. If you throw, to use the expression, you throw spaghetti at a wall and see what sticks. Well, I don't know if you've ever thrown spaghetti at a wall, but a lot of it just falls off. Right?
Yep.
Versus if you're throwing darts at a board, you're going to get way more darts that are actually going to stick and plug where you want them to be than darts that are going to be going off in the wrong direction. Yeah. So, all right. Well, I think we're actually out of time. So while we didn't actually build a campaign, we did look at the Facebook ad library. We did pick on somebody, and we offered a ton of information. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Instead of a watch me build, I guess we can call it a watch me rant.
It's kind of like a watch me build, but mindset, right? Yeah. And whenever people talk about mindset, it's kind of like, oh, my eyes gloss over. But honestly, like if you just listened to this and you just take just some of the concepts that we are talking about, go into the Upex template library, adapt them based on what we've been talking about, you're going to walk out a killer next week, guaranteed. Like you're going to walk out, you're going to be like, all right, sweet, I'm going to do this plumbing thing. And there's some templates in here, but because I know the plumbing arena, I'm going to make myself a niche specific thing like that Sam and Jacob don't even know about because they're not in the plumbing arena, and that's the key. That is the absolute key. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. This was fun. The mindset, the watch me build mindset, all good.
All right. Thank you guys so much for joining us.